It is the Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey Podcast. Been a couple weeks since the last one. The last episode we recorded from it was a weekend recorded from the St. Louis Expo. Thanks to Wade for hosting that. We had a fantastic, I think the recording was an hour, almost an hour and 40 minutes. But we brought every vendor in the room, put them on the mic, just threw whatever out there. There wasn't any really solid topic. It was just talking about game worn collecting in general, told stories, had a blast. I mean, had guys come from all over. So thanks again for the support there. The Detroit Expo is this coming Saturday. I'll get all the details before the end of the show. Kick that out there. I like to put that out there, let everybody know whatever expos are going on. And if I miss any, please reach out before our next show and I will put it out there. So originally this show was going to be about reverse retros, but everybody's talked about them. They're using them tonight in the Buffalo game. I don't think we've seen any other teams use them that I'm aware of. But we'll start seeing them. I mean, I'm happy with them. They look fine. Some look better than others. The blues and the yellow, I actually really like. Some people hate it, but I think a lot of the teams look really good. So I'm not going to complain about that. However, the hobby, I would say, blew up today, but there was some interesting conversations on both sides of a debate. And we've touched on this in the show before, but I think it needs to be kind of hashed out again. That being stripping. And not the kind where we're taking off our clothes because I would get paid to put clothes back on. But the stripping of especially in the Adidas, because those jerseys are so hard to get a hold of in the made in Canada, and people want to strip them and put higher level players on them so they can look just like what's on the ice. And I get that to a point. However, if you're, and I don't know that everybody is a member of it, but in one of the groups, and I have this up here. It's the bad jersey traders seller list. It was posted out there, and I'm not even going to give the guy's name on eBay. It's easily searchable, but it was posted that this gentleman is buying both Ottawa and it looks like Colorado Avalanche gamers, stripping them down and then making them into players like Tkachuk. The debate back and forth got really interesting. Everything from it's fine, he can do what he wants, to we need to disclose this better. The tags, the team tags are still on them, so people were able to trace down who the original jerseys were. Ryan Patrick, thanks to him, was able to pull some of this up. So he listed what it was stripped from, what it was turned into, but I guess we'll start with this piece first, gentlemen, and both Paul Rank and Justin Walden with a cat in a screen joining this evening. Wade Hampton will be joining us shortly. We'll just start with the basic question first. Is stripping a bad thing? Paul, let's start with you.
Personally, yes. We've had, well, did we even do a show on this already? I can't read.
We one of the early shows we touched on several things at once, and this was definitely one of them.
Yeah, to me, you know, you're taking a lesser player, but someone cares about that jersey. I've had, players who barely played in the NHL reach out looking for their jerseys or their AHL jersey or their college jersey, and I understand the desire to want to have a high level player. Someone wants to wear it to Chuck or Norris or someone like that on Ottawa, as opposed to the players, no offense to them, who their jerseys were stripped. But I wish Adidas were releasing these. I know that's where the whole problem comes in. No one stripped it. Well, most people are not stripping Reebok jerseys. I mean, they're readily available, the team stock, made in Canada versions of those. But I sympathize with the reason why people are doing this. I just disagree with it. also want to get to one thing you said earlier. We traced it back to who wore the jersey. I think it was easy this year because we still had the photos from the auction. There's distinctive wear on the one that was turned into a Tim Stutzel. And that was easy to match. The numbering on the Sens jersey, as far as I know, is only available to the person who has the LOA, and there's no public database of that. Just like with the Red Wings,
So it's not searchable.
not search as far as I know. If anyone out there knows otherwise, please correct me on this. But it's not like the Migrate. For when a Migrate jersey is stripped and changed, it's easy to check the tag and look it up if you know what you're doing. The fear that we've always had is a new collector will come in and buy something thinking it's legit, and then 2 years later look it up and realize they have someone they never heard of before and changed. So
And that's, and Paul, all your points are great. Is if this player, like you said, may have a cup of coffee in the NHL, either was issued or they, for a call up, they didn't end up playing in the game, or they played one game, were sent down, and we never saw him again. And yes, they may want it. A collector who's followed that kid through his career up through the minors to that, yeah, like Justin there, may want it, and it's lost to history. The other piece of this that and again, the argument was continues to go on this particular page, and some other pages have now posted about it as well, is the documentation process. That's my bigger concern. If people spend their money, if they want to, it's going to sound bad, if they want to strip it because they own it, fine. It's what am I to dictate what they do with the jersey? The problem is you better document that so it can be carried forward. I mean, you hear all the time, I'm always going to keep that jersey. That's crap. Because even if you don't, even let's say you keep it for the next 20 years, you die and your family cleans out your closet. Oh my God, we got this Kachuk, all kinds of money. How the hell are you going to prove it otherwise? There's no way. If you cut and in the pictures and stuff on eBay, you can still see the Ottawa tags in there. If you cut them out, that's more helpful, because people, even 20 years from now, are going to be able to look up, okay, the 22, 23 Ottawa jerseys would have had this set tag inside. We know every one of those would have had it. There's no reason why it wouldn't. It could be this, it could be that. So that's my biggest fear, is them getting out in the hobby later. Maybe.
Yeah. And how do you trust? And it just becomes an issue of we're so obsessed with provenance in the hobby. And when you erode that, you're eroding the trust, not in that particular jersey, not just that, but in the entire system. And these debates, I didn't pay attention to the one today. I saw it, but I didn't get into the weeds on it. These debates become oddly political sometimes with,
yes,
it's everyone's right to do whatever they want with it. Yeah, I totally see it. But we as a community, as a collecting community, we take various safeguards to hopefully protect the community. And when you start doing this, you're opening it up to just problems. And I think, I'm with Paul on this one. I'm against it. I will totally cop to, I've done it once to a Binghamton Senators gamer. I regret it, because now I'm wondering if that no-name player who maybe got 2 cups of coffee with the B sounds up from the E, if his family wants it down the road, it's gone. And so, yeah, it's not something I can endorse for a lot of reasons.
And there's always going to be, I don't think there's ever going to be where everybody's on one side on this issue. It's always going to be, well, it's fine, and it's, I get it. Blanks are hard to come by unless you happen to go to a team sale. They have some recently, and I know they're not the prime green, but even for people that know it, Pro Stock Hockey had a bunch of blank Ottawa ones the last year or two. all the way to goalie sizes. And again, I don't know what size Kachuk does, wears, or Stutzel or anybody else, but, and I know they went very quick, but it's the same reason as people were buying blanks because you can't get them anywhere else. I think they were $80 a piece at Pro Stock. So not expensive at all. And then they had people were putting the lettering things on it. You know what? That's fine. Those were total blanks. Do what you want. There's not going to be any set tag. There's not going to be any wear. Do that all day long. And I know other teams, it is easier to get some blanks from it. It just depends on who they are. But this is some dangerous territory. It's the down the road thing because people will forget. I mean, no offense, Facebook's not going to exist someday. So you're not going to be able to go searching through those groups and stuff and say, oh yeah, let's search this. Oh, yep. In 2022, this is why this jersey's this way. You're not guaranteed that's there. So, I mean, if the person doing this wants to and I'm not sure exactly what the Ottawa tags look like, take a marker over the top of that tag and write stripped from whatever the player is. So it's over the tag. It's still there, but now you know why it what it was, and now the current lettering.
That is actually my preferred solution on this, or something written inside the
Fight
fight strap. The problem with removing even a Senator's tag, where we have no way of looking up who wore it, we believe, is there's always exceptions. And you start hearing this with jerseys from 5-10 years ago. Well, everything had a set tag except for this one, which got out somehow, and it's photo matched and something. And that's what's going to happen if we remove the tags here too. It's just like, oh, it's an additional set that he wore for whatever reason. And it's kind of nature for some collectors to try to find evidence to support some of these theories that this jersey was worn then, when logically it should not have been. We've seen cases like that before. Some have been documented on the Bad Traders group. So it's, to me, removing the set tag doesn't help. I think annotating it with something, hopefully it doesn't bleed through to the other side, because that will upset whoever ends up with the jersey. But, you know, there has to, you know, be a better way to do it.
And I will say, I did go to Ottawa's page, looking at some of their current jerseys or past years. In their info, it says you get a certificate the whole bit. It does say registered into the Ottawa Senators game-worn jersey authentication program, but I don't see any other information of what that is, how that works. Like in the case of the Blues, on their page, I think it's on one of their main pages, they have a link where you can enter any of the serial numbers from the jerseys, gloves, whatever you get, and it will give you the emails on the info on the jersey. But I don't see any currently don't see anything listed for able to, like Paul, like you said earlier, is looking that up publicly, at least for them.
Yeah. And we're talking about the NHL, but you know, as a USHL collectors, it becomes even more important, I think, to know the provenance of a jersey, because you know, teams are not really good at taking photos of players. You know, there's a potential for fraud by doing one of these up. And I'm not thinking about anyone in particular. It's just, you know, one, the kid's family down the road might want it at that level, and two, with even fewer resources for documentation compared to the NHL, it becomes even more problematic the farther down the scale you go in terms of leagues. And so it's just you're entering into a difficult area all the way around.
And I want to read some of the different comments here on this to kind of give I want to give the both sides of this, and not just us picking on it and that, to be 100% upfront and clear on this. They are not claiming that these are game used. In the description, so they are 100% upfront saying it is re-customized. However, you do have all the wear, the repairs, things like that. So some people are saying, well, it's just bad practice, but it's fine. Others are just, oh, feel free not to buy them. And even just the fight of he can do what he wants. But I guess the biggest thing is, and a couple people are arguing, is the seller has done nothing to the jersey to prevent them, and this is as we touched on, prevent them of being misrepresented as very convincing gamers beyond a blurb in the listing. That in itself is a problem. Various team customizers won't touch strip jerseys with set tags still in them, as they can be misrepresented as gamers, the same way these jerseys easily could. Seller needs to remove the set tags, somehow mark the jerseys permanently so that nobody down the road is deceived. And some of the argument, well, this is all hypothetical. Honestly, it's not. I don't see it as hypothetical at all, because we know these will eventually hit the market. Again, not next. Well, in this case, they are going to hit the market immediately because they're listed on eBay. It doesn't mean the person buying them a year or two from now says, you know what, I'm going to just slide this out here or throw it on eBay, see if anybody notices it, and try and get big bucks because it's a Kachuk gamer.
And to play devil's advocate a little bit, the original eBay seller, it looks by all accounts that they're taking the steps to say that this was stripped. And, it's been pointed out in this particular thread that it's been an ongoing discussion. We're having a discussion of it now. The problem is there's just, you can't account for everything. And we do need a very consistent way of permanently identifying stripped jerseys, and I don't think that there is. So that extends this beyond the particular discussion about the Ottawa jerseys. And again, the seller has indicated that they're, they've been adjusted. That's not what we're worried about. It's the second, third purchases, and therefore we need to come to some sort of system as a hobby.
And that's getting the buy-in and I'll say it before, and we've talked about it on past episodes, is when St. Louis sold their preseason ones last year, because of the switch to prime green, they blew out a bunch of their older Adidas ones, made them up for their players, wore them. There was no set tagging, no nothing inside of them. Well, I own several, and when I was at the expo, I had people looking at a Robert Thomas one. Well, tell me about that. It's not marked. Said, well, the Blues did this. But I have no proof of that. I mean, there's very little wear because it was just a preseason. But like Wade had brought up and stuff too, is just get one of the stamps you can put on the fight strap and say preseason 2022 or whatever. In the case of this, maybe as a hobby side of things, is say, hey, if you're doing this kind of stripping, get one of those stamps made, because again, if you're doing a bunch of this like this person is, get a stamp that you could put on the fight strap that says re-customized from, and then you can marker in who it was. Then it's always in the fight strap. Yes, if they wash it, it may come out, but there's at least the more covered your butt that will also hang around a long time. Or a silver marker behind the crest or something on there to, or like we said before, is if you can, write on that set tag, leave it in there, customized from whoever the player is, but something that yeah, as a hobby as a whole, we can say, hey, here's our recommendations, or here's a few options. So 10 or 20 years down the road, when this comes up or somebody's questioning it, we can go, oh yeah, we in this year suggested this option or these few. And that's how it works. So we can at least keep track of this stuff, because, and I've talked about it again on a past show, a Torrey Krug Heritage jersey. Whoever wore it was wearing 47. I think it may have been issued or it was game worn, I don't remember, but he left. Well, Torrey Krug came in the next year. All the guy had to do was get a new nameplate done. Everything else was identical. And the set tag in it, even in the background of the stuff, has 47. So that looks 100% correct. The date would be off if that clicked in your mind, but an initial look at that, you go, oh, yep, that's official. Everything lines up. No, it's wrong. It was somebody else. So it's that upfront and honest. Yes, the seller isn't doing anything wrong per se, because he is being 100% upfront, and we all appreciate that. But let's document this in a rock solid way.
So
Yeah, and
So either one, go ahead.
I wanted to add in that is one of the reasons why we allowed this post in the bad traders group.
And that was the other big debate is why hasn't this been removed? And I can't believe this is going on. No, I think it's actually a great discussion.
Justin's probably laughing, but I deal with that every day in a few groups.
I was actually going to say that. Like, I praise Paul on my personal Facebook so often, it's getting a little odious. Like, I don't want to fawn over my favorite San Jose collector. Sorry, Mitch. But Paul, these things, they crop up, and I'm like, how the hell do you, like, how do you put up with it? Because there are some, I just, there have been some gray area cases in the bad Jersey group, and to sort through it, I think you can do an entire podcast just about that, because it's, the sort of ethics of hobby policing. Because I don't know how you handle it, Paul. Like, I just don't know how you put up with it.
I start drinking at noon.
That's 10 West Coast time, right?
Oh, exactly. Yes, yeah.
And Wade Hampton joins us as well in this. But I want to welcome you. Go ahead, Paul. Continue with your thought.
I just wanted to, that is why we didn't even consider removing this one, because of the discussion it was leading to. I do think the seller could do a few other things that we would like to see him do, but he's not required to do that. And what he's doing is perfectly legal. We don't like it, but it's legal. And he's done full disclosure, which is really good at this stage. A little bit of history. The Bad Traders group list is actually a play on the Beer Bad Traders list group. It was taken from, they actually, people who were trading rare craft beers and stuff had a group which were calling people out, and the name basically just changed beer to jerseys, and they've had to change the name of that group because of beer on Facebook. So it's not necessarily a list as much anymore as more of a discussion for people to watch out, scammers. And I think something like what happened today is a really good thing to discuss there. We're not calling out the seller. Everyone knows who it is. They know how to find them. And for stripping, he's done what he should do. But I think it's been a really good discussion in the group on it. And that's why we're leaving it there. And just wanted to add that in. And then, so I know, Justin, you had a few thoughts to follow up on that.
No, it's, again, I just think of the challenge of you get these from time to time. Like, why is it? And I do think, like, the label of the group, I wish we had more of a, like, it does have a bad connotation, like bad seller group. You've got the black and white photo. There's another group I think that just popped up recently, the Game Worn Auction Review group.
Yes.
Where you might be finding audiences more receptive to the discussions that you're allowing, because it does seem like it does seem like almost a large number of these posts end up with, why is this posted here? And Paul, you do a really good job of, I think, when there is a problem of getting the individual in to explain themselves or to explain why it's been kept up. And I think you've done that in this particular case.
Thank you. An interesting thing on some of the cases, and we're kind of going on a tangent here. Some of the cases brought up on there really don't belong there. And the initial poster actually comes off looking a lot worse than the person he's accusing. And I've had so many cases of people posting a minor complaint about someone and it going off the rails. And I'll start getting messages, I'm never dealing with this person, again, and not the person they're complaining about, but the person who started the post. But as you said, Justin, we can do a whole show on this. It's
Yes, we can. Wade, I'll let you, since you just joined us, let you get in there about either any stripping things you've seen or kind of where you stand on it. Again, if you've not been looped in from the day, the person who's posting these are on eBay, 100% disclosing them, being completely clear on them being redone, but just our fear of them getting out in the hobby later.
Sure. And for me, I've been on a couple sides of it. I've sold a couple jerseys in the past and they ended up getting stripped. And I was like, I just don't like that, because of, again, for hobby concerns. But again, it's ultimately the buyer's discretion, what they do with anything once they own it. For me personally, I avoid those. I don't sell a lot anyways, but I hate seeing stuff getting stripped down. I know the one jersey that I sold a long time ago was a Tage Thompson Blues game worn jersey. So I'm sure both myself and the person that bought it from me and then stripped it are probably kicking themselves pretty handily now, considering his ascension into stardom.
6 points the other night. Yeah.
So, for me, I think going back into the post on the page, as long as the person is making a full disclosure of the situation, again, it becomes a buyer and seller beware. The question then becomes 10, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, where do these things end up when they get some distance? So kind of like our discussions about custom crafted jerseys throughout the hobby. Although there's still a number of collectors in the know, if you looked at a younger segment of the hobby and guys who maybe weren't aware of issues with that in the past and, whatever, then those things at some point could repopulate with lesser knowledgeable or newer, younger collectors.
There's been a debate with that the last 2 weeks with the Boston one that hit some of the pages and a lot of back and forth with that. And is it? Well, no, I don't believe it is. And others going, yeah, this is suspect as hell. And
is that the lipstick one?
What's that?
Is that the lipstick case?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I love when they call it the lipstick. That's my.
But we even had that, or not directly, but at the expo, I brought several custom crafted specials and was showing them off, and we had discussions about it. And I had the expo the previous year had made a deal with somebody who wanted that style of jersey. I was up front, explaining what it is, and before I gave it to him, I went into the fight strap and wrote CC special on the fight strap. And somebody else was looking at that jersey from him, and he came over and asked me about it. Like, yep, I did it because of this, and this, because it's going to stay on that fight strap. It's going to take a hell of a lot to get Sharpie out of a fight strap.
Did you do it inside the fight strap or on the fight strap?
Just on the outside. So as soon as you picked up the hem or the front of the jersey, you would see it right there. You don't have to peel it down or anything.
Yeah, it's I agree. I gotta get my dogs are chewing on their bones, unfortunately.
No, you're fine. And again, looking on this eBay auction, I can see it looks like one of the Avalanche gamers in there does have a set tag. He doesn't say who it was stripped. The player was stripped from. It looks like it's and he says the jersey was a stripped game issue one, recustomized with stitch number kit. And I can see the set tag, but you can't see it well enough. And I can't even see the whole thing to see if it says who the player was or anything. But
if it were me and I were, and I'm not a person who does the stripping, thank God, because nobody would want to see me strip. But no, if I were one of the people doing the stripping, I would almost intentionally, like what you did with that custom crafted, just to protect my own reputation long term, I would probably write on those fight straps like customized jersey from number whatever, game issued 2000 whatever. If it were me, I would want to do that just to protect my own reputation long term.
And just before you joined us, I suggested, even if we kind of had a couple ideas of like you've said before, is with the stamp that says customized from, and it's just blank there where somebody can write in who originally this was made for.
Yeah.
So there's some options as kind of I don't want to say us or this podcast is we're going to dictate what everybody in the hobby does, but put out some of these suggestions of, if you do this, this will help everybody going forward, because I don't care if this is a one-time, a one-game player or a superstar. All of these jerseys have a history to them.
Sure.
And who's to say that this guy that got called up one game doesn't do something big, period, in the history of the world, and that shows up. But again, I know people are going to bitch, well, that you're just playing guessing games and making. No, I'm trying to think of all the remote possibilities that could come up with this stuff. But like Wade, like you said, with that Tage Thompson, is when he was with the Blues, he wasn't a great player, but now everybody wants his stuff.
That's a huge mistake I made. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, that was a huge mistake. And at the time, it was one of the ones I got at an end of the season auction. Whenever I mean, this was before the Blues won the Cup and everybody went absolutely crazy for prices and stuff went up. I mean, I want to say I got that for $300 or $400. So it was one of those ones that was just kind of there. It ended up being an extra, and I just kind of let it go. And now in hindsight, I mean, shame on me, and then shame on whoever tore it apart and made it into something else, because they probably wish they could turn it back into a Tage Thompson at this point.
But I guess
an ethical minefield, and
that's that's some of the best wording right there, Justin, is the ethical minefield of this. And I will say, I did reach out to Burt Woods as I was scrolling through Facebook and researching stuff for tonight. He is one of the admins of the Capitals Game Worn Jersey Collectors page. I'll read his post here really quick. It says, okay, with all the recent posts in various forums, I thought this should be addressed. The buying, selling of stripped game-worn issued jerseys, whether or not they've been kitted into other players, will be removed. Also, the inquiry on where to get this done will be removed, and the request for measurements of fonts, crests, nameplates will be removed. Let me finish this up really quick, then we can hit that point. The refitting of jerseys to other players is not what this forum is about, and I'm sure there is another forum that will suit your needs. Feel free to discuss, but I feel this practice hurts the game-worn hobby and can be deceiving to the new and old collector alike. And I'm sorry, what was your point there? I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to finish that out.
No, I think that sets a precedent. And again, it comes back to me on saying, like, I don't know if and I don't, like I said, again, I don't sell a lot, but if I were going to sell something that I thought were going to be stripped, probably won't sell it. I'm just being honest at this point, just because of the direction it's going with that kind of stuff.
And I saw another one just scrolling, and I don't even know which group it was in. Somebody stripped I need to see if it had the migrate tagging. I don't remember in the description, but a inaugural Seattle Kraken jersey had the patch. It was stripped, but nothing else had been put on it. So it was had the inaugural patch, but no numbering.
Yeah.
I would think all those would have been MyGray. So if the tagging's still there, you can at least trace it back to where it goes. And again, thanks for MyGray to keeping those sheets up.
Yeah. For as much, it amazes me. I mean, we're going out. What popped into my head is I'm glad MyGray, among the many things they bring to the hobby, I'm really glad that they keep those population reports accessible. And they deserve a lot of credit for instilling and helping contribute to trust in the provenance of these. I know sometimes they get their detractors, but that's a service they're doing, because unlike some teams, they're making those lists available, and it's good business for them, and it's helping our community.
Okay, so I did actually find, while you were saying that, I did find the Kraken post for this jersey. It doesn't not look like it has a MyGray tag in it. The description is this: Seattle Kraken inaugural season patched Adidas prime green, Mick jersey size 56. This was a preseason worn jersey that I've cleanly stripped, originally a number 20. Very little evidence of ghosting, fading, some light wear on the lower arm. Still has the thread sewn where the tracker would have went, but no cut has been made. $850. But looking through their pictures, I do not see a Migray set tag in there anywhere.
Which group is that in?
This is actually in the, and I'm only part of these groups because kind of see what's going on, the Authentic Hockey Jersey Addicts page.
Oh, okay.
So it's at least on the game worn pages, and I see them in the authentic pages all the time, but it's just, again, seeing a Kraken inaugural strip is also problematic.
Yeah.
Maybe they took out the Migray because they want to make it clean. I mean,
And
so many
that
questions.
could be.
Yeah.
That's at least give them that, because, and I don't know if it sounded like it was at least worn, hell, maybe it had been training camp, but it is blank. So you're not, I guess, tracing it back to somebody. You're less likely, I guess, to really believe that that's a gamer in the hobby. But again, like we said, is tagging gets screwy sometimes with teams, even with newer teams. So it's possible, but is it 5, 10, 20 years down the road that this is redone into somebody else? Of course, all their players suck, so nobody will want to collect them anyway. But this is problematic. But if people are going to do it, I don't want to encourage it, but I want to help keep it from turning into people getting screwed over later. Again, the person that buys one of these auctions, and the prices aren't stupid. I think they're very reasonable, but buys one of these and then 10 years from now goes, oh, nobody's going to remember this, and then lists it for $3 or $4 grand because it's a Kachuk.
Yeah.
Who's going to be able to step up and go, yeah, this is crap. It's not this. And again,
God forbid Migray's lists ever go down.
right. Or photo matching. I mean, if you were to go back and look, well, this thing's beat to hell, but I can't find a single picture of Kachuk wearing it. And then you stumble across crap, somebody else had it on. I mean, it's like, Justin, like you said, the ethical minefield.
I'm good for a soundbite.
But I get, what is the best way to help the hobby? Because you're not going to stop this. You saw it a little bit with when people would pick lower end guys in the Reeboks before they were easily gotten, and now nobody gives a damn. But with Adidas, I don't see this ever changing where mix just become dumped out.
Adidas is out after next year?
Yeah, 23 after 23, 24.
Yeah. So I mean, the big question is going to be whoever the next supplier is, whether or not they continue the Adidas trend of the Made in Canada's only being available to the teams. I mean, because you kind of hit a key point there was before the Adidas thing happened and these guys became kind of forced to figure out a way to get authentic reproductions of star players. The accessibility at some level to get a hold of the Reeboks was there. And so the question is going to be, is the Adidas is it just the thing that we're going to have to deal with for another year and then it'll change? Or is this the trend that unfortunately game use collectors are going to have to deal with for an extended period of time?
And it's a good question of what's going to happen next, right? What are we seeing? And I'd be curious. I know nothing about baseball, football, or basketball jerseys, but I'd love to know. I mean, with baseball, those are Nike shirts, right? Mm-hmm. So I wonder. I mean, what has Nike done with? I don't know. I think I'm hoping it's Nike that gets.
I've never heard of in another sport somebody stripping and recustomizing jersey besides hockey jerseys. And somebody could comment on this later and say, oh, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. But in my time in the hobby, in a lot of different aspects of the hobby, I've never seen anybody get a crappy Yankees player and turn it into a Jeter. I mean, if somebody else can argue that they have, please tell me. And in football jerseys, just based upon the way they're sized and designed and the use factor on game worn jerseys, I don't think it's really possible to do that because they're all so unique for each player.
Which makes it a hockey problem in this case.
Pretty much.
So I guess, Justin, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on ways to to keep this at least from screwing people over in the future? Or do we kind of, as a collective group, not just saying the four of us, but hobbyists in general, saying, hey, if you guys are doing this, we understand, and that's fine, but please mark them in this. It's like a hobby standard. I mean,
It's got to be but then again, like how many, it's got to be the signature or something on the fight strap, but then you run the risk of it bleeding into the jersey, which, yeah, so that should be the standard is, non-bleeding pens with signatures or something in the fight strap. But good luck enforcing that, because we can't even have a Facebook group discussion without it getting incredibly contentious. So, and that's the challenging part. And again, I will circle back around to Migray's contribution to the hobby is that they have done a lot to standardize some of the things that we sometimes take for granted in the hobby. The pop reports is a great example of it. So maybe what this needs is for the discussion to go beyond the bad jersey group, beyond us. So the short answer is in the fight strap. The long answer is continue to discuss it and continue to highlight the difficulties here.
It's, and thinking about this, and we've seen the jersey, not digest, but the jersey databases come and go. Oh, this company's going to do it. Everybody can register jerseys no matter what team it is. And then after a handful of years, it collapses. The person passes away or leaves, or nobody takes up the mantle. So that information always gets lost. There's just no, and I don't actually believe there really ever will be a central place that you can look up every game worn jersey. I wish there could be, but I don't think there's any way even to keep, if we start it today, 20 years from now, to keep the mantle going with somebody else. But Justin, I think you're right too, is Migray, I think helped lead the, and some other teams that is those set stamps, is getting more uniform to a point. Is, yes, the set stamps might not be in the same spot, but everybody seems to use them now, and there's most of the time the same information. But with new technology, you're seeing better, easier, faster ways to do it. And Wade, you can step in on this too, as the jersey over my shoulder, that one with the Stiefel ad on it. One of the pieces of paperwork I got showed me the one game it was used in the playoffs. They put I think that's the barcode they put in the neck, and they're scanning that pre or post game. Mm-hmm. Didn't give me any details on my number of minutes or anything, but it showed me the one game. And you got yours.
I haven't looked. Yeah, I haven't looked at the paperwork on mine yet. To be honest with you, unfortunately, I've been a little busy, and I got them and I brought them home, and I was intrigued by the barcode. I did message a contact at the Blues because they didn't have a set tag in them, and I said, "Hey, are we going just to the barcode, or are we going to have set tags in them this year?" And I was informed that the home set one and the sets one will have the traditional Blues style tagging in the inside, which is great. The question is, when do those barcodes become readable to fans, and for us to, keep a list on it? And how good do they do about scanning those things in? With the Blues going to that barcode and the thing, my assumption is that probably has something to do with the tracker tag that the NHL puts in there, and them linking the jersey to the game to the tag would make more sense than trying to scan the tag inside the jersey. So, kind of like when your dog gets a microchip, pick that up is difficult, but hitting that scanner on the inside of the jersey would be pretty standardized. So my assumption is they're probably going to something like that, like what we've seen the Penguins do before. I know the Penguins used to give a list of what games a jersey was worn in. So I'm hopeful that that's the direction it goes, because suddenly that makes, if that jersey's scanned in for a game, then suddenly it makes photo matching a lot easier. It makes tracking a lot easier. It makes taking some of these problems away a little easier. Again, I think Migray again has to be complimented for what they have brought to the hobby over the last 20 years, and it's standardized what a lot of these teams are doing, going from not doing anything to jerseys to everything that a lot of the teams are doing. As far as a centralized database, I don't think it can happen. There's too many players involved. there would be too much action to get everybody to be on the same page. I mean, heck, you can't even get guys to, each equipment staff does it different. So getting everybody to do it the same, I think, is kind of a dream that will never happen. And unless somebody like, again, everybody's going to get mad at me for saying this, unless somebody like Fanatics takes it over league wide and comes up with a program that is a required program for equipment staffs to log jerseys game by game. But again, think about the complications of that. You're talking about 82 games, 32 teams, a guy gets blood on a jersey or tears a jersey. I mean, like, there's so many intangibles there that make that nearly impossible.
And Paul, you'll laugh at this, but you're of the four of us in this video, you're the most senior of the collectors for sure. And I think you've seen things come and grow and change. From your perspective, how do we protect the hobby from this?
Well, I mean, I do agree with marking the jerseys somehow. I personally prefer inside the fight strap, but however it's done. The Minnesota Wild, when they were selling game issue jerseys, the tags on them said game worn jersey, but they took a Sharpie and marked out worn. So it was just game jersey. And it's clear there's something up with that jersey, with just that simple bit of Sharpie that they used on it. I actually think, well, I'll parrot the comments. Migrate does a great job on this. You can look up any jersey, almost any jersey that Migrate has sold, at least from the NHL level. Look at the set tag, their tag number, I should say. Look it up in the population report. There are mistakes in there. They've been worn in different sets and stuff, but at least it tells you that jersey was supposed to be worn by this player. Now, when we're talking about stripping jerseys and changing names, that's enough there to catch it.
And we've already seen that a few times.
Yes, and we have seen that. Yes. Now, if Ottawa were to make their stuff public, that would be good. If other teams were that too, you have teams like the Sharks with their recent Global Series jerseys. All they do is have a patch inside it. They don't have any identifying numbers or anything to tell you. For the older Sharks jerseys, they would have like the player's initials dash their number dash 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And matter of fact, I know that's not stored anywhere because I have Burns jerseys which have the same ID number in the same color, in the same year. So the problem with the global database on this, you will get bad data into it. No matter how we approach it, we will get counterfeits into it. We will get altered jerseys. So who's going to be putting the data in? Other collectors.
Sure.
And someone might pick up that Tkachuk in 10 years and enter it as a gamer because they believe it is. And they don't have the evidence for it. So to me, it's a combination of annotating, marking the jersey somehow so that people know that it's been altered, been changed, and then having a way to then further look up the ID numbers on jerseys, not just Migrate jerseys, but others. All that data with the eye in the sky stuff is available. It's not made available to anyone besides, I don't know even if it's made available to the visiting team. But, the home team has all that information. They know where their player was on the ice every second of the game. So it's there, but, their job is to win hockey games. It's not to document this crap for us.
Yeah, their budget goes to front office and stuff and not to the interns and people that run the game use programs.
Yeah, sorry, brought up interns again.
Interns keep companies afloat.
Yes, they do, but they're given so much limited information and it's guesswork. I mean, not to bash on the Blues because they have been trying to improve, but the second or third episode we did about the Blues lawsuit is in that lawsuit it references the interns doing the program. Well, did any of those have any knowledge walking the door previous to coming in as an intern for how game used and game worn stuff is? Doubtful. Not bashing them at all, but they weren't prepped properly. And if the equipment guy hands him and says, "This is what this is,"
So it is.
they're going to take his word for it. They're not going to
Well,
question that.
in you know, at a certain point, even those of us who are against this, you know, part of the hobby, there's a risk. There's a major risk in buying this, and it is mind blowing when you think about, depending on your how much and how invested you are, but we spend a lot of money on this stuff, and we know, like, even the vintage stuff. We know some of the vintage stuff with team equipment managers selling stuff out the back door, swapping nameplates. There's always this level of risk. Now, when I personally start to think about this, and it just makes me pause. Like, we are, as collectors, putting a whole lot of faith, and specifically our hard-earned money, into the provenance of these shirts, that we just have to live with the risk, regardless of how you feel about stripping and not. And I obviously don't favor stripping at all.
But that's a general concern.
Yeah,
Buying a jersey, not just
Yeah.
a strip jersey. And no, I just did want to add, well, I think part of the responsibility for tracking this goes on the departments which are selling the jerseys. And the problem is they might just be handed 5 boxes of jerseys from the equipment staff and like, here, sell them. And they have no idea what they are or when. And they're not always priced that way either. So it's
No, definitely not.
I think we all fight against the fact that, you know, whether it's interns or employees or whatever, the thing that a lot of us don't understand is, or we don't think about a lot, is these people probably aren't hobbyists like us. You know, these are people that, you know, got a job at the Blues and whatever, and they may be Blues fans or Sharks fans or any teams fans. They may be hockey fans, but being a fan doesn't make you a hobbyist. And I think that's one of the things that we have to continue to think about when it comes to these situations with the teams. And when you go back to the Blues situation with that lawsuit, you know, again, they're hiring people that want jobs in the organization, not necessarily people with hobby experience. And the thing I've discovered in the past is those people are less likely, especially people that work in the front office or work at these, they're less likely to give a crap about hobbyists and what we want to do, because they're just, it's maybe a burden to them that they have to do this stuff, or it's a secondary afterthought and it's just a little bit of extra money because it's not a big deal to them. Because for every game worn jersey they sell, they may sell 15 authentics out of the team store.
It's mind blowing, and this takes on an added dynamic. I have amazing university displayed behind me, you know, and I am surprised that this issue hasn't cropped up with college jerseys, because with universities stripping nameplates, I'm surprised that there hasn't been more or an issue with a nameplate being added back onto a stripped. You know, I have a couple of name on back removed Penn States that will never ever leave my collection, but I'm going to get the nameplate replaced. Right. And I'm surprised that this doesn't crop up a little bit more among college hockey collectors, of the sort of difficulties of replacing name on back jerseys. And
sure.
And you go down any number of paths, there's always going to be these considerations.
Well, and sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, some teams removed the nameplates and stripped them. I mean, and shredded them. And they're never to be seen again. Other teams will actually send you the nameplates separately from the jerseys. Other teams will claim they remove them and reattach them at your request if it's done by a third party. The college landscape it's totally different than, you know, NHL, AHL, anything. And I mean, it's where the bulk of my collection is too. I mean, Justin and I are similar in that way. I mean, I collect. I'd like to think a better team, but sorry, Justin. Yeah.
I guess
as I piss off everyone.
and not to get off the track too much, Paul, but with and Justin both with at the college level, I know some of it had to do with NCAA rules, I believe, where they could leave the senior names on if they were graduating, but the other ones were stripped. At least that's what I had been told at one time. That was
Or if they have left the program.
Yes,
Yeah, and gone to like juniors or something. Yeah.
and I guess the other thing that I'm curious about, and this may be discussion another time, is with the coming up of paying of athletes, what's this going to do to the hobby? Because now their names are, and it's not for the average players, those big name guys. And I know you probably see it more in football and things like that, but the guys want paid. They're a college level player and they want paid for their likeness and jerseys being sold with their numbers and stuff. So I'll be curious to see if it affects the game worn hobby in college.
Yeah, and actually, I'm curious what Paul thinks about this. I only collect one college team, as does Paul. So, you know, you get into that level, and there's just we marvel at the lack of consistency between NHL teams. I mean, at the university level, it's just, it's completely, it's unintelligible in terms of any of this stuff. I will say, where my preferred university gets a lot of credit is they do have tags in there. Last from this set, they do have set tags that indicate it's game worn. No serial numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if college teams down the road started to be a little bit more systematic about this as they realize with name, image, likeness, the potential that could come out of this.
There's money to be made.
I've only seen a few college teams do that. With the set tag so far. I think Ohio State's done it recently. I didn't even know Penn State started doing it. So,
and I don't think they're entirely consistent about it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, that's true of any college team. It's Michigan has not done any set tags on anything that hockey wise. I don't know about any of the other sports, but as far as seen in football and baseball, nothing there either. So,
well, and with this discussion as we wrap this up, I expect a lot of comments on both sides just from our discussion here. Is you guys were wrong or this that. Again, we're not the four dictators of this things. We're trying to throw out some ideas to help this because we all see what's coming in the future. They're going to get out there. I don't care what anybody says. It's never. No, they'll be out there somewhere. And thank God for access to Getty and things like that. Yes, you can. If you can't photo match them to things, there's a bunch of where that's going to raise questions. We've had that with custom crafted and other stuff in the past, or change nameplates the whole bit. So we spitballed for the last hour of things to watch out for, things to know. And again, if you're unsure, ask. But to clarify one more time, the guy selling this stuff is being upfront, and it's highly appreciated.
Yeah.
Do we like the fact that these are being stripped from other players? No, but we at least appreciate the fact that you are not bullshitting this. This is, hey, it's been stripped from this player. I wish he would have put it in the description, but fine, whatever. We were able to easily find it because the auctions just happened. But the fact that it is being disclosed is immensely helpful. So thank you for that, seller. If you're listening to this, want to plug before the final thoughts. Want to plug the Detroit Game Worn Expo coming this Saturday. The Best Western Woodhaven Inn in Woodhaven, Michigan. Going to be 10 to 3. It's if you still have I believe they still have tables available. Alan Astornia, who I just got the chance to meet last Saturday at Wade's Expo. We had him on the podcast, but it was great meeting Alan and his inaugural one in Detroit. I think I've got him hooked on the podcast. He actually reached out to me asking what tools he would need if he wanted to record something like this at the Expo. So I was helping him with some equipment. So wouldn't be surprised if you see something like that at the Expo. So I wanted to plug those. And again, if there's Expos coming up that I've not seen or going to be missing, whatever, please reach out. I will throw them out there because, again, I want to get people to these. And we had such a fun time visiting with everybody and hanging out. It was awesome. Let's get some final thoughts. Wade, we'll start with you.
You know, when you told me we were going to be talking about stripping tonight, I hurried home. Sorry I was a little late. Different cast than I expected, but it was still a good conversation. Generally just another good one. It's always fun to join you guys. And I always say that, I'm going to end this with one thing that, we would talk about this. There's some old school guys in the hobby that always say, do your homework. And I guess, again, this topic again comes back to do your homework. But it's always fun to join you like-minded gentlemen who enjoy the same hobby that I do. And hopefully everybody listens, enjoys, and we keep doing them.
I think I'm going to get a bill from Milt soon for as many times as we say that. He'll charge us for throwing that out there. Justin, what about your thoughts?
You have to do your homework. You have to. I think one of the things we underutilize as collectors is the personal advice from people like Milt and the people who've been doing this longer. But I think also as at sort of, I guess, mid-level collector, right? I do hope people will reach out to me and some of the people who have been in the hobby for enough to know how to avoid making mistakes. And I think sometimes new collectors get scared off a little bit from the hobby. So that's, as it relates to stripping, I'm not a fan of it, but you got to do your homework. And I think we all need to kind of look out for each other.
I like it. Paul?
Thank you for hosting this. Interesting conversation. I'm glad we're having it here, not on Facebook.
Things get lost in typing. We all have learned that one.
Oh, yes. I do. I'll echo it again. Do your homework, blah, blah, blah. It's my problem with that is that's great for people who have been in the hobby, even for months. That they know what to look for. Where my fear is with this stripping issue is someone new to the hobby. I get it all the time. Someone's, looking for a Thornton jersey. They have no idea what they're going to call me. They email me out of the blue. Hey, Paul, can you help me find a Thornton game worn jersey? I start telling them what they go for, and it's like, you're kidding. So what I'm worried about is the new person coming in. It's like, hey, I really wanted to tuck jersey. I see this one on eBay. It's only $2,000. And not knowing the homework to do. That's just my future fear on it. And there's no way to do anything to truly prevent that. But I thought we kicked around some good ideas tonight. And I know there's going to be a lot of disagreement. But
I hope we impressed some people, and I hope we pissed off others, because if not, we're not doing our job. I'll give one final thought on stripping. Remember, if you go to the club, take $2 bills because they look like 20s in the dark.
Grown.
My
man. And with that,
yes, and with that, we will call it a night. Another great episode in the books of the Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey Podcast. If you want to join us on an episode, if you have topics you want us to cover, please reach out. I will love to talk to you. I always come up with ideas, but I always like hearing other opinions as well. Gentlemen, we will talk to you soon.